Basketball.
It's time to strap in and get ready. The Insight NBA team is in the arena, bringing you the ultimate play-by-play on who's hot and who's not to help you win your leagues and dominate your mates. You're now hooping with your hosts, Matty G, Skiddy, and Malley for the Insight NBA show.
Hello and welcome to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast. I am your host, Skiddy IFS, and today I am joined by my main man, Malley, at Live My Fantasy. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting off our new premiere episode that we're going to be giving to you each and every Thursday between me and Malley. It is called Pump My Guys. I've already stuffed it up, Malley. God damn it. But either way, Pump My Guys, yeah, exactly right. I'll get it next week, where we will be giving a pump up to the players that are below average, so you can see where they are going really, really badly, and we need to pump them up to be better. So, Malley, what do you reckon? We're excited about this new concept of our show, and we're going to get an absolute rocket and stick it up some of these guys' asses to make sure that they are better for our subscribers and watchers' fantasy teams.
Yeah, we promise we'll fix them. This is our guarantee to you. If they don't get fixed, then obviously it's definitely not your and my fault. It's obviously the fantasy basketball gods, and who are we to mess with them, us mere mortals?
Hey, dead straight. And I'll tell you what, for guys that are unfamiliar with, especially myself, I do a segment on the AFL show, and it's called Weakest Piss Be Better. And I will stick a rocket up someone's ass, and they have been genuinely a lot better since I've given them a rocket. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I bring my main man Malley in here, and let's do it together for the NBA? Because I'll tell you what, after the first week of NBA basketball, some of these blokes desperately need it.
Yeah, does this happen every year and I just forget about it? Because there's just so many guys that we thought this is a bit of a safe bet, and they've just stunk it up. And that's our job tonight, to fix them. I'll be interested to see if your powers stretch over the oceans, mate, to get all the way to the US of A. I mean, it's easy for you to do it to the AFL boys because you're basically just doing it interstate, but this will really test your powers.
That's actually a really bloody good point, mate. But I'll tell you what really tests my powers really nicely, and that gets them really fired up. That's right. It is the standard squeeze, our day ones. And if you guys want to have your beers cold and your coffees warm and your beautiful tank tops like we've got Malley in tonight, that's right. You use promo code IFS15. You get 15% off whatever the hell you want. Hats, 4-in-1s, singlets. That's right, to show off your beautiful muscles like Malley and your beautiful tattoos. Damn straight. But, Malley, let's get stuck into it. And I've had a couple of guys that I've had to highlight for this, and I've given you a couple of guys that you want to highlight for this. But I feel like we're going to start off with a man down south, in South Beach, to be specific, and that's Bam Adebayo. I'll tell you what, Malley, I don't know what has gotten into Bam to start this year, because this is a guy that was taken around the 30s, 40s, 50s kind of range. And he is down. Points-wise, rebounds is okay, but down for him. Assists are gone. Steals are good. Blocks are good. He had another good defensive game the other day where he had 3 steals and 2 blocks. Happy there. Has not hit a 3. Free throws are down badly. Field goals are down badly. Turnovers. Malley, what are we seeing here from Bam? Can he turn it around?
I think the assists are pretty well gone if we get all these guys maintaining their health. I think this is probably what's throwing it. I reckon it's 2 things. One, he's looking around and he's realizing that he's playing with 4 other starting caliber players, which he probably couldn't do at any point last year. So that's one thing. He's being overwhelmed a little bit. And to be fair, Rozier's been okay. The skinheads looked all right. Like, he had a pretty big game today. Jimmy Butler has been up and down. You've had all the versions of Jimmy, and then you've got then they're kind of working around with Nikola Jokic. Jovic in the making up their starting five. So I think one thing is probably the fact that this is just a weird. It's almost like they're playing with a brand new lineup. You know, we look at all these teams where they've got guys in and they're trying to settle and find their way. For a team that didn't make any real changes, they're kind of doing the same thing. You know, like they're getting used to playing with each other because they had so many injuries last year where this must be like a new thing. I'm hoping that it'll settle. The other thing is that they got that hurricane coming for them down in Florida. So maybe it's a weather related thing. You know, if we have to put it down to Juju, it's got to be weather too.
Yep, absolutely, mate. And the rebounds are the main thing, and the points. They're the main thing that's given me a little bit of grief. He was 19.3 and 10 rebounds last year. So down to the 11 and the 7. Oh, geez. It doesn't look like the usage is there. They are comfortable with having Hero and Rozier. Butler's also hasn't looked great. So I'm worried about Miami at the moment, mate. But we go on to, let's move away from Bam, from a guy that we were very, very sure on that was going to be happy with, to a guy that may have had a little bit of flags where he moved from team to team. But, hey, some guys on the Insight Fantasy Sports podcast might say that he's a house call or safe as houses, Malley, but he hasn't been there at the start of this year. Tobias Harris has been shit out. I think that's been pretty easy to say there, Malley. His points are down. Rebounds have been nice, though, in fairness. Assists are down. Steals are blocks are up, which is good. 3 shitouts. Hasn't missed a free throw, but the field goals are absolutely rooting Tobias to the 123rd ranked player so far, while he's been picked around the 60s to 80s, I'd say.
Yeah. And I think his rank will go up slightly from that 123 after today's game. He did have a little bit better of a game, but I think he still started out like 1 of 6 or something like that, and he kind of brought it back together. He was still below 500. I don't want to live in G's house if this is what he calls safe as houses, because that thing must be held up by bloody flag glue and paddle pop sticks. Yeah, shots fired. But I had him, and I traded him out, ironically, to get Bam. So, you know, I have 2 guys who haven't been playing to their standard. I'm just hoping that if they can both come back to their best possible scenario, I've got a bit of a steal getting Bam there. The rebounds have been super. Like, he's been getting double digit rebounds for the last 3 games. So, and the 1 assist, 1 block has been like very handy. Honestly, if he can just get some of these shots in, he's going to be all right. I thought he was going to be the clear second guy, but it kind of looks like he's going to be Ivy's kind of stepping between him and Cade. So I've had to temper my expectations a little bit. But if he can get some of those shots in, he's going to be okay. And I don't think he's going to get 11 rebounds a game. But I also don't think that he's going to shoot, 1 of 7 to start every single game that he's played and will play for the rest of the season. Yep,
100% agree there with you, Malley. Obviously, he's not going to hit every single free throw he takes either, but that's okay. I think Tobias will find that range. One other thing I'm going to do to you, Malley, as well, is I'm going to say to you, are you expecting them to bounce back, or are you going to just trade them off? So can you see these guys coming back, or would you just cut ties and just be like, nah, I'm done with it? So Bam, would you cut ties right now, or would you hold if you had Bam?
I think the only thing you can do for Bam is hope people are panicking and take him and hope that he gets better, or even goes back to what he was last season, which wasn't amazing compared to maybe the 2 seasons beforehand. But like, that would be okay. I think if you're a Bam owner, what are you going to do? Like, you definitely can't drop the guy. You're going to trade him for absolute bottom dollar. I mean, the best you could do is do what I did and trade him for another struggling guy that maybe someone has a bit more hope in, or maybe maybe do what I did as well and get a struggling guy, like when I traded away Tobias and I threw in someone who was probably a little bit lower down the totem pole, down the pecking order, but had a hot start. Who the hell was it? Suggsy. So Suggs is great over the last 3 games, but he's going to stay. He's going to be good, But Franz is in the last 2 games that Suggs has been amazing. Franz has also played like a total of 20 minutes. So let's not forget that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And Suggs is currently the 18th overall player, but shit, he's averaging two and a half steals. Yeah, rebounds. Yeah, absolutely, mate. So I agree with you there. With Tobias, I would hold because it's just the field goal percentage. If the field goal percentage comes up, the points comes up, the threes comes up. Yeah, I think Tobias can still bring himself back up there. Mally, we go to our next bloke. It's in New York, actually, after his beautiful GQ interview with his boys, and it's Jalen Brunson. And what we can say about Brunson is, the rebounds we weren't expecting many of, but he has not gotten a defensive stat this season, Mally, and that is pretty much why we see Jalen Brunson sitting at the 137th ranked player this season.
And I mean, this season he's surrounded by guys who are good defenders. You know, you've got Mikal Bridges in there. You've got at least for these first handful of games, you've been able to keep OG Anunoby out there. I wouldn't exactly go so far as to say that Cat's a huge defensive presence. Ooh. But, you know, like they've got guys out there. They've got and I think that's the other big thing. Now they've got who's your boy? Here we go. I've made it into the third guy and I've already forgotten names. Who's their shooting guard?
Josh
Gets
Hart.
all the rebounds. Thank you, Josh Hart. Like he's out there too. So I mean, it's not really like he'd just be swapped off every player. He'd just be put on the weakest attacking force on the other team, and he wouldn't have to do anything. So he's probably just not getting many opportunities. Out of the 3 guys we've talked about so far, he has, for me, the least hope of being able to go back to where he was last season. I have more faith in the other 2 just because I think that Tobias has gone to a better situation, so he should be better. Ben's remained in the exact same situation, so it's just whack that he's fallen off completely. Nothing's changed there besides health of others. Yeah, for Jalen, I don't know. For me, he's not getting back to where he was.
I can 100% see that as well, but it's also the main drawing point from Brunson last season was obviously the 28 points. He had good assists. The blocks obviously weren't there, but it was good field goal and good free throw that was giving you a high one. So that's why Brunson was the main drawing point. Yeah, he may not reflect that in overall ranking, but you know what you're going to get from Brunson if he can get back up to those points. But as you said, there's a lot of people now in New York where they can definitely take it away. The only caveat I thought was he's now gone down from 1 steal a game to none. I thought he would have had more because he's able to like gamble on the passing lanes. It seems like he has less confidence in Cat behind him and OG and Mikal behind him. But either way, it is what it is. Hopefully Brunson, it's an easy like for him to bring his rank back up. It just needs the defensive stats if he can.
He's probably also taken a squidge over at the bench and realizing it's like Thibodeau who's like lacing up his trainers and going, well, boys, it looks like it's going to be me out there. And he's thinking, well, I better save some energy. You know, I can't be doing any defending because I'm going to be too busy doing the offensive end and trying to stay out here, trying to last for 40 plus minutes.
100%. He's got Miles McBride backing him up, which has been pretty bloody good, but he's also been sharing the load. And until today, Cat was pretty disappointing, but that was a big 44 today for Cat. We move on to our next bloke. And this was a man that was taken either in the 2nd round or 3rd round, maybe even 4th round, Mally. And we're talking about the main man in Utah, and that's Larry Markkinen. He's currently ranked 144th. His points are 18 points per game, 7.3 rebounds. That's why we got him there with the threes and the free throw percentage. The field goal is the main reason why he's down. And the defensive stats have evaporated. Mally, what I want to know from you is this the norm now that we're expecting from Larry Markkinen? Because Walker Kessler is now back in the starting lineup, who is a very, very capable defender, and he doesn't have to rely on John Collins anymore? Or is this just... Or can we see a bounce back from Larry Markkinen in defensive stats? Because he wasn't this poor last season.
Yeah, I mean, he's never been known as a great defensive stats bringer. But that's such field goal percentage. He should be around the 500,
Yeah.
and he might work that out and figure out what's going on there. I mean, we saw this time last year they were on an absolute heater. They were killing it over in Utah, and this year they're just flat as a tack. Like there's nothing's happening at all. So and he's the driving force behind that. They've weird that they seem to be limiting Sexton. Like they just seem so high on him last year, and like taking a little bit of a shining back to Jordan Clarkson. There's just so many teams doing the weirdest of things this season. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's like they've caught the bug. Like you look what's happening in Memphis. That's crazy. Where they're just giving everyone minutes. The same thing can be said over in Golden State. Like there's so many teams running these deep rosters. I mean, then you've got New York who are doing the total opposite and don't have anybody on their roster. Like they're one injury away from having to basically run a G League bench. Yeah, it's just wild times. I don't get it.
If I was a Larry Markkinen owner, I would be just sticking fat through it. I reckon he can definitely come back for it. I know there's a little bit of worry with now that Cody Williams is now in the starting lineup because of Taylor Hendricks. Shout out to Taylor Hendricks. Hopefully that his knee goes all well because that is absolutely fucking disgusting. But yeah, hopefully Taylor bounces back next year. Hopefully the best for him. So, I don't think Cody Williams in the starting lineup really hinders Larry Markkinen that much. I think we just need to see a bit more ball movement to be able to go towards Larry, and he'll be absolutely fine. One guy that I am worried about, though, Malley, and I think this is the main guy that I am worried about from this list of 8 that we have right now, Miles Bridges. I am seeing red flags absolutely galore with Miles Bridges right now. 15 points per game, 6.5 rebounds. No worries there. But 1.5 assists, no. Steals are down. Blocks are up, which is good. Threes are around the mark, but the field goal percentage is down. Yes, if he can get his field goal percentage up, then we're seeing an uptick and we're going to be getting back to what we want in Miles Bridges. But usage is down. And the Hornets are very, very much comfortable with saying, hey, we don't need to just go through Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball. We can go through the rest of the starters. And we are very, very comfortable with going through the bench with Trey Mann, with Caleb Martin, with Grant Williams. They're not relying so heavily on Miles Bridges anymore. And he needs usage to be that kind of player.
You should be worried because if you are an owner of Bridges, because they've been doing this without Miller. So it's not like with other players that we're seeing here, like a Bam and like a Lowry, where their and Tobias, where their percentages are shite, and you're like, well, I can see a path for this getting better. Anytime that assists have taken that much of a dive, anytime usage has taken that much of a dive, like that's probably that's the harder thing to come back from. It's harder to see like a recovery for these kind of players. So he's a guy who worries me a bit. You're right; they're going to man heaps. Like as soon as ball goes off, man just comes on and he does his thing, and then he goes off and ball comes back on, and they're just predominantly getting all their points through those two guys. The Martin twins doing a fair bit as well. Like, they're another team like where, I mean, again, they don't have Mark Williams out there and they only got a tiny bit out of Miller, but they've had better health to start this year. My question to you before we go on is, most of these guys now playing around the 5 games. Like, are you what if this goes for another 5? Is the 10-game mark where you're like, well, this is who they are now? Do we be more patient than that? I know it doesn't really matter for these guys because they're not droppable. You're not going to be able to trade them unless, well, you are. You're going to be able to trade them to people who are more patient than you are. But you're not going to be able to trade them for any sort of value. Is it 10 games? Is that even too soon in the season when we're going in our fantasy seasons, like, upwards of 60, 70 games?
Yeah, so mine kind of looks towards more of how the team is actually structured around them. So when it comes to Markkinen, when it comes to Bam, when it comes to Harris, I'm pretty comfortable with that's how, like, they're going to be better than that. Like, they are going to obviously improve. Brunson, I know what I'm getting from Jalen Brunson. I know I'm getting the assists. I know I'm getting the points. I'm a little worried. If I took him, like, second round, I'd be a little bit worried, and I'd try and maybe move that off because. But no, actually, no, I wouldn't because I know that I can get the points and the assists from him. And they're valuable. So I just hold Brunson. When it comes to Bridges, I'm really, really worried. Like, he's that type of player where I'm like, I need the usage out of him. The assists are down, which is a red flag. I know the field goal will come up, but even so, if he doesn't have that usage and the field goal comes up and I'm still only getting 16 points out of him and maybe 5 rebounds, do I really give that much of a shit? Not really, because the blocks are now a caveat where he's getting 1 block a game and he's never done that in his career. So now I'm worried about that. So I feel like Bridges is kind of the guy where I look at and go, oh, shit, I'm actually really worried here.
He's also a flog, so you're kind of not rooting for him, a little bit if you're a fantasy guy, but like, you see Tobias, you're like, come on, man, like you'll be right. And you see a Bam and you're like, oh, Bam, you're too young. You're in the prime of your NBA life. And then you see Miles Bridges and you're like, great. Like, if this is the worst thing that happens to you this year, mate, then you count yourself bloody lucky.
Shit, it's been a lot better than these last 2 years. And then speaking of the last couple of shit years, we go to Ja Morant, who's had an absolute stinker start to the year, ranked 171. The points are down. The assists are up, so that's good. But defensive stats, steals 0.3, blocks 0.3, threes 0.8, and the field goal percentage is at 42, which is but the turnovers at 4-3. So, look, I'm not worrying too much about the turnovers. That's always going to be a caveat of Ja's game. That's all right. I just need the points higher, Mally. And the thing about Ja Morant is I don't care when we look at the rank 171. We know Ja is in theoretically, he's not a great category league player, right? But what Ja provides is high scoring, high assists, which are categories that we need to be able to down and drill into. He's not bringing that for us right now with the points. The assists, yes. The points, no. Do you see this changing? Or is it more, he's deferring a lot to Desi Bain. He's deferring a lot to Marcus Smart. Like, we need to see a bit more out of Ja.
I think his woes are out of his own hands. It's Jenkins doing this whack trash with like letting everyone have a go. And with a guy like Ja, he's the juggernaut. Like, he needs to get a good rolling start before he becomes unstoppable. He needs to be out there. Like, he's kind of getting pulled off before he can even hit his stride. Like, this is a guy who needs 30 odd minutes, and he's getting like 20 odd minutes at the moment. And he's a guy who needs to play 4 quarters to get good stats, like he needs to be out there and he needs to be gunning and going. Yeah. And Jenkins is kind of not really allowing that at this point. I mean, it's somewhat fair enough. Like, Jenkins had to play a whole season last year with like a G League team, and things actually went pretty well. So now he's like, all right, absolutely not. Like, let's just all relax. Like, let's just all play minimum. Nobody gets hurt, if I see that you're starting to like throw yourself around, absolutely not. You can come and sit down and I'll bubble wrap you on the sideline. So I think there's again not a lot you can do. The thing about him might be is if you can get a big blow up game, you might be able to get out of him. Like, people like Ja, he's got that name. He's cool. He's got guns. So he's liked by fantasy owners. So unlike a Tobias Harris, where if he has a big game, people will just be like, it is what it is, except for Garrett. But the rest of us will just be like living La Vida Loca. Whereas if Ja can get like a 30-point, 10 assist, a steal or 2 steal game, and you don't want to keep playing this game, I reckon that's a good time to cash out.
Yep, 100% agree. If his defensive stats start to come back up, you're absolutely hitting the stride. And that's the best thing about Ja is if the defensive stats come up, but like the scoring stays down, then that's good because that means he's going to keep rising up and he's going to be getting you these extra categories. If the defensive stats stay down and you know that there's no chance of the defensive stats coming up, but he's still scoring all right, you can actually trade him off for high because a lot of people love seeing 26 points per game. Like, it catches everyone's eye, and that's just how they want to see it. So you can read into it a bit more and be like, hey, I'll give you Ja Morant. He's scoring 25 points per game, but he's doing nothing else and he's hurting me in percentages. But here, have him if you want. So either way, but
and maybe you trade him, try and trade him for like a Curry who's currently injured and people like might be worried about like.
DeJounte Murray.
While Jar's playing, unfortunately, if you're trading him, you're probably like me and you got no patience. So trading it for someone who's playing poorly is still better than playing not all like DeJounte Murray. And unfortunately for me, I've got DeJounte in the one league I'm in that has no injury reserve slot, so that makes it even more difficult. Yeah, it's busted. But anyway, that's baller league. That's how they do.
Yep, you kind of got to hold that though, unfortunately. But another guy that is down at the moment that would have been taken pretty bloody highly, and I swear to God, Malley, if there was people that are listening to us right now and they were one of those people that took this man in the first round, Anthony Edwards, fuck you, be spewing. Yes, he is averaging 30 points per game. Fantastic. That is big dubs. Big dubs. You'd love to say that. 6.3 rebounds, fine. 3.4 assists, but 0.5 steals, 0.5 blocks, need to bring that up. 5.5 threes is elite. But the free throws on super high volume are killing, absolutely killing you. And four turnovers as well. He's ranked 86. Look, Malley, this is one that we're just going to bring up, but shit, it's pretty easy where Ant Edwards can bring himself up to higher ranking. The people that I had two people DM me today as well and say, hey, should I trade Ant Edwards if I can? Said, mate, if you can trade him for a first round pick, yeah, you 100% should. Otherwise, you hold him because it's just the free throw percentage is mainly it. The turnovers is the other thing, but who gives a shit? If he's getting me 30 points per game with 5 threes, I don't care.
I mean, I picked him up in second round in our little Insight League after I picked up Ball. And again, a little bit because I'd made my other 3 teams very similar to each other. I wanted to go something completely different. Ironically, I'm not doing too badly in that one. So what does that say about my fantasy strategy? Just go against what I would normally do. But I'm not worried, because I didn't think this guy was going to do much more than what he's doing. As exactly as you said, he's getting 30 points a game. He's absolutely running the show out there. Yeah, the free throws might sort themselves out, but beyond that, I don't know. He's kind of doing what I expected him to do. He's a lot different to a Bam or a Tobias or something like that. This guy is yeah, it makes sense. He could sharpen things up a little bit, but it's not a travesty. He's getting the rebounds, he's getting a few assists. He's kind of doing what he did last year. The only difference is people took him a lot higher this year than they would have last year. And I guess then the expectations need to be or are unfortunately higher as well.
Well, the thing is, I think we can pretty confidently say that he's not going to be shooting 5.5 threes a game. So that's obviously going to bring him down a little bit. But, mate, he's been a career, what is he? A career 78% free throw shooter. He was 83 last year. He's at 64 this year. That's going to come up. So let's say it meets in the middle and he sits around the 40 mark, which is where we thought that Ant Edwards would roughly be. Then you bump him up a little bit more because the scoring's so goddamn elite and it's hard to find a good scorer. Fine. Do not trade Anthony Edwards unless you get first or second round value. That's what I'm going to say. Don't, please, for the love of God, don't do that with Ant Edwards.
I think if we had to put an order on the things that you try and ignore the most in this early stage, it's definitely the percentages, the free throw percentage, the field goal percentage, and the 3-point percentage. After that, it would probably be the defensive stats. Maybe less so the lack of them, but maybe more the abundance of them, like a pool where you shouldn't be thinking, well, great, I got a 3 steal a game kind of dude. So it probably goes in that order. Then it probably goes to assists, then rebounds are safer, then points are safer, and turnovers and fouls and that kind of thing. It kind of goes in that direction. So if you're panicking because your guy used to be a 30-point night guy and now he's an 18-point a night guy, that's a panic. If you're worried because they used to be an 84% free throw shooter and they're at 71%, I don't think you got to worry about that. Context will take care of that. Context and time. And, you even look at someone like Anthony Edwards. He had a 5 of 10 night. And like, that's just atrocious. Like, one, 10, getting to the line 10 times is probably not really his wheelhouse. And two, only hitting half of them is even less likely. So, yeah, no, I'm not.
Agreed.
I think you just got to look at it like that.
Yep, I 100% agree. There's obviously some kind of caveats where we can go, okay, where we see like the usage drop, that's when we start to get a little bit panicked. Like Bam, that's for one instance where he needs to get the usage up to get the points back up. But one more guy, Malley, that you specifically are really, really wanting a rocket up his ass to be able to perform a bit better. I don't know if you have him in any leagues because I don't think you were that lucky to be able to get him, but I think it's for your actual own personal gain, but also every one of our subscribers gained that was either the first or the second pick. Victor Wembanyama, come on, mate. You are way better than this. This is absolute shithouse what you are providing right now for your standards. The rebounds are nice. The points are we can deal with that. 2.3 assists, you're better than that. Has not gotten a steal. Has not gotten a steal this year. You're shitting me. He was one of the best players for defensive stats last year, and he has not gotten one steal yet. 2.8 blocks is obviously elite. The 3, good. Free throws has been awesome. Love that. Field goal percentage is down the arse, and the turnovers are way up. Victor, Malley, what do we need to see from Victor? Because he's been given a lot of the ball, and he's done a lot of pain to the boys with it because he is currently 59th when he was taking 1. And let me just put this into context, Malley. Nikola Jokic, who some people were gifted at pick 2, is currently the number 1 ranked player in NBA fantasy basketball this season. But it's still early.
Yeah. And I'm a Jordan Poole owner, so I'll be happy to take a Victor Wembanyama trade at the moment. Yeah, look at this guy. But I mean, you look at the dude's arms, like he looks like a human dragnet. Like you put him into a shallow river mouth and you're just going to grab something. That's the same with steals. Like if he just puts his arms out like bloody Cristobal in Rio de Janeiro, he's just going to grab something. So the steals are going to come. The blocks are sitting nice. We hope they'd be a little bit nicer. Honestly, if you did a clean swap of, and I know he's not going to be a 90% field goal shooter, but like let's, in a reasonable way, let's swap the free throw percentage over for the field goal percentage. That would be nice. If he was 60, he's not going to be that, but like let's say he's going to be close to a 50% shooter and then lose maybe 10 to 13% on his free throws and go back down to like a low 80s. That'd be cool. And like then he's getting the points in. We know he can trebuchet a few threes in, which he's not really doing. You can see how easily it's going to be for him to get back into that first round kind of safety area. But yeah, I mean, it's just wild to watch that game. And if I always think if I hadn't watched an NBA game before and never heard of it, and I turn this on right now, I'd be like, who the hell is this Jeremy Sohan? He must have been the number 1 pick from last year because that guy is fresh and he's firing away. And you're like, oh, this Wembanyama, he looks like he could be all right, but like clearly it's a Sohan team. He is obviously the higher you took them, the lower chance you have of making any sort of reasonable trade. Don't panic. Hold on to him. Things are going to get better. I think out of all the guys here, you can have as much hope in that. I don't think he's well. I mean, it's hard to say at this stage that he's going to pip Victor Wembanyama, Nikola Jokic for the number 1 spot. But even if he can come back and be 5th, I think you'd be pretty happy with that.
Yep, 100% agree. And look, it's pretty easy. His points per game are down by 5. His field goal percentage is down by 0.6. His free throw percentage is up massively, but that's okay. It's very easy for Wemby to be able to turn this around. Do not panic. But we do give a caveat as well. I personally believe Miles Bridges, if you can sell, I reckon, obviously don't sell low, but I just don't see him going over the top. But these other guys, we don't expect them. The reason why we bring them up is we're not saying, hey, sell now and panic. We're saying, hey, we should be holding these guys because we know they're better than this, and to stop being, stop being cowards with it, basically. Get back to your form. Get back to how good you are. Get a rocket up your ass. What Greg Popovich always used to say is, be better. So that's what we want to say to you, and get up. And now, when these guys start performing better next week, you can thank me. You can thank Malley. You can get into either of us on Twitter. You can at me at SkiddyIFS or Malley at live_my_fantasy. And you can we'll give you a pump up next week. If you want, DM us what player you want us to pump up next week. We will pump your guys. No worries about it. But that is our Thursday night show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. Again, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a thumbs up because we love this shit and we hope that you love this shit too. So we appreciate you guys all. Yes, Malley.
And just remember, as a bit of a sign off, it can't get worse. Like silver lining comment, it's not going to get worse. Like keep that in mind. It's not like I better sell now before things fall off the cliff even more, mate. You are at the bottom of the cliff. You are lying flat on your back.
I'll tell you what, that is going to be our sign-off for each and every one of these Pump My Guys episodes. It's going to be Malley saying, don't worry, lads, it can't get worse. All right. You legends, we appreciate you joining us for this Thursday show. We'll catch you in the next one.